Welcome to Mat Chronicles. We talk about everything here, but mainly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm 1865 Rod. I'm a black belt under Gustavo Enriquez, training out of Infinite Jiu-Jitsu, Rockland, California. Shout out NorCal. I got D. Schaefer in the house here.
What's happening? It's Harold Schaefer. I'm a black belt under John Hassett out of South Jersey. He's a black belt under the Megler brothers. Been doing jiu-jitsu for 22 years and some change. I'm currently also training at Infinite Jiu-Jitsu out in Rockland, California. Loving it here. So, yeah, also a shout out to NorCal.
There you go.
So we're here to do the thing today.
That's it. What are we talking about, man?
Today we're going to talk about promotions and why some people are happy with their promotions, why some people are not happy with their promotions, about those guys and gals who go, hey, shouldn't I be getting my next belt right now, to their instructor? And then next thing you know, they're a blue belt for like 7 years.
Yeah.
We got to learn.
That it's funny. It goes either way too, because I've seen guys say, I was having a conversation with a guy the other day, and he was a blue belt. And we were talking about a guy that was supposed to get his brown belt. And for whatever reason, the guy didn't get the brown belt. He goes, oh, yeah, that guy's not ready. He's not ready. I'm like, yeah, you're a blue belt. How do you even have a perspective on what a brown belt is? But do you know what I'm talking about? That happens.
It does happen. I mean, oh, man, don't get me started on that.
No, I'm trying to get you started on it.
There's also, like, it always blows my mind when I hear people say, oh, yeah, that's a well-deserved belt. And, like, they're, like, brand new. They've been doing jiu-jitsu for a year. And they're talking about how somebody who's been doing it for so much longer is well-deserved. I'm like, dude, you barely know the requirements for that belt. So how are you going to tell me or anybody else that it's well-deserved? But I know it's just out of good intention. I know they're not overthinking it. They're not going, oh, yeah, well, my particular skill set says that they should be getting this belt. So I get it. I guess that's me not checking my ego. I gotta put it aside and go, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
People are just talking. It is what it is.
So, like, at the end of the day, so we were first talking about, like, there are some valid reasons and then there's some not valid. But, like, you do make a good point. You're saying at the end of the day, like, how did you explain it? Like, you're kind of like putting your autonomy in the hands of somebody else, basically, right? So it is their school. They ultimately make the decision, and you can't really argue with it. What are your thoughts?
So, what we were saying, let's say you get yourself a white belt. Let's start with a white belt. They've been training for 9 months, 10 months, a year and a half. And maybe they're all striped up and they're like, man, I'm ready to get a blue belt. I'm ready. I should, I'm catching other blue belts sometimes. And I think I know this. I learned these moves on YouTube and I think my instructor needs to promote me. So sometimes they'll get the nerve to go up there and try to explain to their professor or their coach or whatever you want to call the person, hey, I think I'm ready. I think I should get promoted. And there's a few things that can happen when you're dealing with your instructor like that. One, they go, oh, okay, you know what? Yeah, you are. Maybe they didn't notice it.
You'll definitely not get promoted.
Yeah.
That's the fastest way not to get promoted.
Right, but sometimes they do. Because, listen, I've seen people get talked into belts before, so it's like it happens.
Yeah, it does happen.
Usually what happens is, especially I know back in Jersey, like if you really had the balls to go up and say, hey, I think I should get promoted, just tack 6 months onto your time. Like, just be ready. Just like, oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, okay, we'll get you. We'll get you when we get you.
I came from that same like old school culture. Gus is old school. I like that actually. That's a part about it. I actually do appreciate that. Because if you ask about your belt, you just like you say, you might check out a year. I don't know, man. It could be worse. Do not ever do that. If you're a white belt or any belt, do not ever ask your instructor for a belt. That's common sense now, but it wasn't so much in the day.
But things have changed too, because I think that was more along the lines of when you're dealing with jiu-jitsu as a martial art. As a sport, I mean, you kind of have to just make a comparison as to how do you stack up against other people in your weight class, in your age division, and are you just eating their lunch? If so, then yeah, you probably are that belt if you're strictly looking at it as a sport.
Yeah,
right?
because you're saying sport's going to leverage like the physical attributes more, like
Uh-huh.
your physical prowess, your athleticism, things like that. Where the martial art, it's more technical and the knowledge based, a lot of the traditions,
Yep, it's a
things that you
lot more
should know.
traditional.
Yeah,
That's the thing, right? And
not that one's right or wrong. They're just different.
yeah, and it's hard to blend the two because if you try to start mixing and matching, then you're like, okay, well, do you have to be of good character to get promoted to another
Yeah,
belt? Martial art, they might say yes.
yeah, no,
I
no.
think I
There's
think
schools.
Helio back in the day, he wouldn't promote guys who had tattoos.
Wow,
So
are you
it's like,
serious?
yeah. So
I
it's
didn't
like,
know that.
dude,
Wow,
you know,
that was old school. Huh?
yeah, but it's like,
That's when the
but does
sailor
that
had a
really,
tattoo.
right? Does
Mom on
that
the
make
thing.
you a bad person? And even if it does make you a bad person, can you be a bad person and still get promoted? I mean, if you strictly look at the sport aspect, hell yeah, because you can be a total asshole and beat the brakes off of everyone. How are you not that belt when you clearly show that you have the skill set to handle it?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not get promoted? So,
But if you look at it from a martial arts standpoint, a lot of it is character building
yep,
and developmental skills like that outside of just your physical abilities.
absolutely.
Yeah. So
And, and
we don't want to build up evil people that are douchebags, right?
that's how
So
martial arts are set
yeah,
up.
we
Yes.
want to build good guys to defeat those evil douchebags
Correct.
on the street.
You want good character. You
Yeah.
want all this honesty and all this other
Yeah,
good
it's
stuff.
a good thing though. Like you don't want to make a group of men that have the ability to hurt other men that don't have the moral character to go along with. That's my personal belief.
Yeah, no, and that's great from a martial arts standpoint.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm a
Because,
sport jiu-jitsu guy,
well, I mean, me, I look at it more as a traditional martial art. So for me, like I don't necessarily want to see a bunch of douchebags, like you said, get promoted. But also, I'm not running the school, so it's like
Yeah.
there's the other thing, right? It came back to what we were saying in the very beginning. You are putting your life and livelihood and your
Safety.
promotions and everything in the hands of another man who's going to say whether or not you
Oh,
are
I see what
this
you're saying.
thing.
Okay.
It's like you're falling under his umbrella and he's going to tell you who you are. You don't get to actually tell
Yeah.
him who you are.
Yeah.
It's like you show up, you get on my regimen, you train the way I expect you to train, and in doing so, I'll tell you if I think you've moved up to the next belt. Have you gotten a stripe, or are you ready for this, or are you ready for that? Um, and then the killer part, like I said, when you start mixing and matching the traditional and the sport, then you start having these huge divides in skill sets
Yeah.
in the same school, because you got some guys who go, hey, well, he's going to train and he's going to be a sports guy. So I'm going to actually not promote him so that he can win more tournaments at this level. But then this other guy who isn't as good, he's going to get promoted before this other guy who's really freaking
Okay, so
phenomenal.
so check this
So
out.
it's like you start mixing and matching. It's weird.
Well, there's a guy, I'm not going to name names, but he's another respected guy in the community, BJJ community. But he was basically saying like sometimes like maybe like women can't get black belts, or like an old guy might not be able to get a black belt. And so that's where it gets you opening a can of worms. Because like, what if there's a guy who's like the 65-year-old dude who's legit? He's been training for a long time. He's a brown belt. He started later in life, but he's in a school. There's everybody's 30-year-old. They're just whooping him up, right? Is that guy not a black belt? Is he not? I'm just asking. I don't know. It's a tough one,
And that is a tough one,
especially being an older grappler. So
they always say, what is it? The mats don't lie.
that's don't lie,
Well,
but see, I don't have that
And
problem.
that's good. That's good to a point, because there's obviously a huge range of everything
Yeah.
in every belt. Because I remember watching old UFCs, and they were saying against one of our guys, was a team balance guy, and the commentator was like, "Oh, well, he's fighting some Gracie guy, one of our guys," and he's like, "Well, there's black belts, and then there's black belts," and then the commentators were basically making the assertion that these team balance black belts weren't as good. And then what happened was our guy whooped up on this, other guy, right?
Nice.
And they're like, oh, all right, well, I guess they're legit.
Legit after
And
all.
it's like, just because you heard of a guy and a name on TV, that's not the be all end all of good jujitsu, right? There's a range throughout the world of who is good and who is okay and who is not good at every single belt level.
Well, and check this out. Here's another thing that could happen. Let's just say your school took that approach to where you have to beat everybody else, basically, all the lower belts. Okay, so you did that, right, at your school. Then you get your black belt.
Mm-hmm.
Now you go to like AOJ or something. Everybody's like 25, and they're just like mauling you. So are you not a black belt anymore?
Exactly.
So like it's weird.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to have different.
Subjective.
That's why they have competitions where you're going to fight a guy relative to your size, weight, technique level, and age group,
right,
relative somewhere in that.
But even that, like if there was only one standard for a belt, then there would only be one guy who could ever be considered a black belt. It's whoever happens to be the top guy at that moment.
Yeah.
Everybody else will you're going to turn your belts in until that guy dies.
Exactly.
And then you hope you move up. It's like.
Or you beat him, and then the next time you have a bad night. Oh, I lost my belt now.
Now you're not a belt.
Now you're not a belt. You're right. So it is very subjective at the end of the day.
Super subjective. And
with the understanding that black belts should know certain things, they should be fluid. They should know how.
They should.
There's expectations that obviously you should have, and there's a lot of them for a black belt level.
There's still those expectations can vary, and they can be very wide.
They're subjective.
Those expectations,
you're right.
Because some people say, "Oh, well, how do you not know how to do a barren bolo?"
Yeah.
Some people, well, because we don't do barren bolo.
Yeah.
So it's like, does that make you a black belt? It's all subjective, and that's the thing, right? I think a lot of it, the way we used to say was like, all right, well, how do you handle people in a similar weight class and age bracket and all that of the same belt level, maybe up one and down one in a belt level? Like, someone's always got to be at the bottom of the pack. You know what I mean? There's always a black belt who's
the bottom black belt.
The bottom black belt.
That's true.
You know what I mean? But
there is. Every school's got it.
Is he good? Sure. I mean, can he teach a class? Most likely.
Yeah.
But then you got, but then there might be blue belts who are beating the hell out of this guy.
But then you got the guys that and again, not naming names, but you got these guys that just maul everybody.
For sure.
But they're not really going to be the best at maybe teaching or, you know what I mean? Or there's different things that they don't contribute. So I think those all kind of come into the mix with the martial arts aspect of it.
Absolutely. And that's why it all has to be a martial art. Because
it's got to kind of,
as a martial art, you can have this wide variety. I mean, just think of all your old kung fu movies, right? There was always like these guys who, he busted into a dojo full of black belts, but he kicked every single one of their ass at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, then what kind of black belt is he?
Yeah.
He's beating every single other black belt at the same time. What kind of black belts are they?
But you know what's funny about those movies?
They were probably like the guys who could beat everybody else in the village.
But if you watch those old movies, those old
right.
Was it those like Asian movies where there's a Chinese, martial arts, like karate or kung fu, whatever. There's like 50 students. They're all wearing black belts. Like everybody has a black belt.
Well, you would have to presume that that's the black belt class. That's all the guys who are up there who are supposed to be the best of the best. So any one of them in any given day could probably beat the dog shit out of most everybody else. But it just happened to be that their master killed this guy's master, and now he's coming to avenge his master, and he whooped all their asses.
Yeah.
So that can happen in jiu-jitsu too. You can get a guy who rushes in, dojo storms, and goes, "Hey, you know what? I heard you were talking shit. Here it comes." And then he commences to beating every single one of your freaking black belts' ass.
Yeah.
So are they not black belts anymore, or is he just like a super black belt? So there's a wide range, and it's always going to be that wide range because for all you know, this guy might have been one of the students who didn't get his black belt yet. He's their brown belt. He's like, he's maybe getting ready to promote.
Yeah.
But he comes in and just dog walks your whole team.
But do you see, let me ask you this. Have you seen guys that get so mad they like freaking quit your school? Like,
for sure.
I think everybody can relate to that, right? That happens, right?
Absolutely. I've seen guys ball up their gi, throw it against the wall, walk out.
Dude, you know what? There's a guy, and I always say it. I got to stop saying it. I'm just not going to say it. But this is the most alpha guy you'd ever see. Big, buff, bald head, tatted out. Like, this is just like look like the Rock type guy, right? Alpha male guy. It's like, man, I don't care about a freaking belt. Didn't get his belt. I quit. Like, you gotta be kidding me. This guy quit?
Because you know what?
No way,
they were putting on the good show. They were saying all the right things, hoping that it wouldn't get put to the test. They were saying, I don't care about the belt. Until they didn't get it, and they're like, damn.
That's why I see part of being a black belt is perseverance, because I got passed up several times, you know what?
Sure.
But I think part of it is mental. You have to be able to persevere just put your head down, and you have to be open to the criticism that your professor's giving you. You know, for me, it was like rolling too hard. You're rolling too hard. You're rolling too aggressive, and it took me a long time to kind of work through that. And I got
and what's crazy is transfer you to a different school, and that professor would have been looking for exactly that.
You're right.
So that's the subjectivity part again. That's where it keeps coming back to. You are putting your fate in the hands of another man. You're saying, hey, I'm just going to trust that whatever you say, it's good enough. I think, or enough people have said that you're a legitimate black belt and your school's legit and blah, blah, blah. And I'm now a student at your school and I trust in you to make me better, you and the rest of the team to make me better. And I trust that you'll have my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And you'll promote me as you see fit.
And because, that's actually a good point. If you really think about it, there's no reason for them to just hold you back unless they're trying to sandbag you. If you're a competitor, like I wasn't doing a bunch of competitions or anything like that. So there was no reason to hold me back as a hobbyist. So looking back, he did the right thing. Like I legitimately needed a little bit more fine tuning to get to those next levels, but here's the next thing that happened. Like now let's talk about the stripes. Because there's some that's a funny, right?
That's a debatable thing too.
It's debatable
stripes, for sure.
Yeah,
I like stripes.
Stripes are cool because it gives you a little progress. But I think sometimes people think like, okay, let's say I'm a white belt, I got my 4 stripes, I'm gonna get my blue belt next. No, that means you're just eligible. Like that's kind of like maybe you could kind of talk about this little system that you kind of help implement here because that is a good way to track your progress, but it's not the end all be all.
The end all be all.
But I think it's legit because without that, people get forgotten about. If you're not a superstar, you're below the radar. You get passed up, and that's when guys get butthurt.
Yes.
You're not noticing me. You're looking at this other guy who's got all the ability,
and that's sometimes
that's legitimate
complaint.
Yeah, it's a legitimate
concern.
Legitimate
complaint. It's like if you start running a big school, you got morning and evening and maybe early morning classes. You got 7 days a week doing jujitsu, but you only teach like half of those or whatever. Then you might have some students who only come in when you're not there. And as an instructor, it's definitely going to be easy to overlook them because you never saw. You might not even have been there when they signed up. So you're like, oh shit, you're one of my students.
You're right.
And it could be months and months and months. I've never even met this freaking student before. But I mean, hell, he's paying. His check clears every month.
You're right.
But I've never seen him roll. I don't know who the hell you are.
Yeah, so you're definitely not going to get billed.
Right. So if there's only one person making the determination as to who does get promoted, then that's how you fall through the cracks.
Yeah. So break down the little stripe system that.
Right. So the way our stripe system worked, it was pretty solid. Everything was in 3-month blocks ultimately, right? So as a white belt, day one, you tie a belt on, put your gi on, tie your belt on. That's your first day. If you're training relatively consistently, 2, 3, preferably 4, whatever, you're training consistently week after week, and you're actually picking up and understanding what's being taught. You're capable of learning. After 3 months, you'll get a stripe. Then you continue 3 months after that. You got another stripe, and another 3, and another 3. So now it's been 3, 6, 9, 12 months, right? After 12 months, you're sitting on 4 stripes.
But this is assuming you're training on a regular basis,
this is training
no injuries, and
you can be injured all you
want.
Well,
I mean, you're not taking time off, right? That's what I'm saying, right? And then you're actually applying everything, and you're grasping the concepts. Okay.
So, and this is at white belt. So I speak it to white belt first for obvious reasons. This is a new belt. This is just a belt where you're just kind of thrown in the mix. You say, all right, just survive, man. Just don't quit, So they're going through it. They've done a year now. Now some people might get promoted faster because, again, there is still the discretionary view of your instructor. They might be like, 9 months in, this joker has just been massacring everybody. Yeah. He's learned it so fast. He's doing 7, 8 classes a week.
He was a wrestler, whatever.
He was a wrestler before that. Maybe he doesn't go a whole.
He's done competitions. He's really killing it.
So there's exceptions to rules, but let's use generalities here, right? Because I don't like speaking towards exceptions. So generally speaking, you got this joker did a year, got 4 stripes, so they're eligible for promotion after 3 more months, right? 3 more months, it would go from 4 stripes to the next color.
Or unless your school had a promotion like in 6 months,
right? To that, yeah. So if that's the case, then that 3 months, yeah, you're ready. We can promote you right now, but you'll hold for another 3 months because maybe your promotions are every 6 months. You have a summer and you have a winter promotion, right? So in those instances, yes, you wait a bit longer. Other places would go, some places just promote you without warning. They go, oh, yeah, you know what? You hit your time, boom.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of a class and you get a promotion. Here's your belt, boom.
We've done both at our school. Yeah. We've done both. I kind of like the structured actual ceremony because then you have the whole school there. It's like a reunion. You're like, oh, I haven't seen you in a year,
dude. You can have family.
It's pretty good.
People come see why you're never home and why you're always limping or whatever it is. Like, let other people experience.
Your wife knows you're really going to jiu-jitsu.
Right. It's like, exactly. You get to let them people see what's up.
Oh, he really is training.
Right.
Okay.
So you've got that. So boom, there's that year and 3 months, year and a half from white belt to blue belt. Now, still using 3-month blocks, but now you double it. So now from blue belt, you use every 6 months to get a belt. So now, let's say you did your year and a half, you're now a blue belt. So you tie your blue belt on. 6 months from that point in time, you're training consistently, you're learning things, you're staying on top of your game, and boom, you get a stripe. 6 months later, get your second stripe. So now you've been doing jiu-jitsu for 2.5 years, right? 2.5 years in, boom, another 6 months, another 6 months. Now you're a 4-stripe blue belt. You've got 3.5 years under your belt, right? You've started and you've been doing this for about 3.5 years. And now you get to the point where you can be promoted at the next summer promotion.
You enter purple belt purgatory.
Well, first you got to get that. You got to get the purple belt. So you've done 3.5 years, but you still have 6 months before the promotion comes.
Yeah, so you really got 4 years.
So now you're hitting 4 years.
And you know what? I think that actually comports with what I've seen because
the 10-year thing.
It should be, because I think it took me 5 years to get my purple belt.
Right.
But I've seen guys you can get it, in 4 years. That's arguable. You know what I mean? That's negligible.
I'm using the general.
Yeah. But I'm going to show you why too.
100 people, you'll see how this works out. The majority of them can do it this way. So 4 years in, you got your purple.
Yep.
Right? Or you got your purple. So purple jumps again in these 3-month increments, jumps up to 9 months, right? So
purgatory.
You got 4. Yeah, it is, right? So you got 4 years in, and then 4 years and 9 months, you get your first stripe.
Ooh, that's a long time. Right, yeah, exactly, you're going to sit there for a minute.
Yeah, because this is the belt you're supposed to be getting in here and learning stuff, and you're
finding your game.
A real jiu-jitsu person, right? This is
you can teach.
You're right. You can help out a lot. So you should start to know some stuff. So now you're what? 4 years, 9 months in. Slap on another 9 months. Now you're 5 years and 6 months. Wait,
5 years,
3 months. Another 3, 5. 5 years, 6 months. 5.5 years in, and you've gotten your second stripe. Slap on another 9.
Just do 18 more months.
Right, and so what's 18 more months then?
At 5.5. It'd be like 7 years, just shy of 7 years. You're around the 7-year mark.
All right.
They're running in the comments. You're wrong. It's 6.5.
Well,
okay, I'm probably wrong.
That's what I was doing.
I'm just saying roughly the guy might take a little bit longer, a little bit quicker, around 7 years.
Then after that, when we get back up to brown belt, you stay with that 9 months. So you're still, some stay at the 9 months, some do the 6 months, like once you hit your brown belt.
Yeah, because brown belt should be like, it should be a little quicker.
It shouldn't
be purgatory because you're like on the back burner simmering.
Usually it'll drop back down to about 6 months.
Yeah.
You might be looking at 2 years to brown belt.
Brown belt, in my opinion, is like the stew is cooked, it's done, bro. You're just letting it simmer to get that final little flavor, and it's good. That's all you really need. Because when I roll with brown belts, I consider them black belts. They're right there. You know what I mean? Unless they got a day one brown belt. I'm talking about a brown belt with 4 stripes.
With 4 stripes.
He's like a black belt.
Even 3 stripes. They're pretty much.
They're close.
They're not doing much different.
I'm not holding like I'm gonna go. He's a black belt.
Yeah, they're not making like little stupid mistakes anymore. They're way past.
They've already figured out their game. And like you are what you are at brown belt. You're not gonna go from being like
probably not gonna make massive drastic changes in your game at brown belt.
Yeah, if you're like a back take guy. you're not going to be a leg lock guy all of a sudden. You are what you are. I think you are a purple belt, actually.
Probably, yeah. Purple belt is where you start kind of developing your game.
So check this out. Okay, so and I like that system because that eliminates all the ambiguity with it. Oh, I haven't seen this guy. At least you could track his progress. Oh, the guy has 4 stripes. He's eligible. Now let me start watching him.
Yep.
Now I'll start rolling with him. And I always tell the guys, hey, roll with Professor. Make sure you roll with him. Make sure you just say, hey, Gus, let's roll. Get a rolling so he can see where you're at. You're eligible, and then he'll make the final decision. Right. And yeah, like I said, ultimately, if he says you're ready, you're ready. If you're not, you just have to be objective and say, man, I guess I wasn't ready. Because like I said, I really wasn't ready in many of those times. But so let's go back to now. Here's a situation that could happen. Okay. You get the guy that goes all over. He's like in the military or whatever, and he relocates. We had a guy in our school. It was so funny. This guy's really good, dude. Purple belt, frayed. It's like so faded. It looks like it's blue. Right. 4 stripes all tattered. And so this poor dude, man. Come on. He's been training like 15 years. We're like, okay, this guy needs his brown belt. Come on, man. Yeah, now, even he still didn't get it. It took like a year of training. And then we're like, yeah, he's got to get it. And everybody's like 100%. And he perfect, fit, shoot right into it. But those guys, I kind of feel bad for them because, what if we didn't belt him? Like, oh, he's not our student. You need to start all over again. And some schools do that.
And again, if this is the school that you choose and that's how they run things, you put your fate in the hands of another man, and that is what it is.
It gets worse. Some schools do this. Let's say you're a brown belt. Mm-hmm. You go to another school, they may say, well, you're going to wear like one of our little special brown belts. It's like not really, it's not a full brown belt. Right. It's like we're considering you. And then once you prove yourself to us, now you're real. Okay, now you can wear the brown belt that your other school gave you like 2 years ago, even though you've been a brown belt for 2 years. So check this out. Are they saying that they hold the standard for brown belts? Because now what if you get their brown belt for theirs? Because then if you go to another school, we don't really recognize those guys. Now you got to wear our special brown belt again. So you be a brown belt for 20 years.
So that's where you as a student need to be more discerning as to where you go train. Because if that's how they do it and that's what you accept, then there it is. No one's putting a gun to your head. No one's forcing you to go there.
I personally would not accept that. I work too hard. There's no way in the world I have like too many, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 MCL tears and, separated AC joint. I have too many injuries to have somebody tell me you're not a black belt right now.
And I wouldn't do it first and foremost because, out of respect for myself, I wouldn't do it, but then also out of respect for my instructor, I wouldn't.
Exactly, because that's basically saying your instructor didn't use critical thinking.
Yeah. I'll be goddamn if somebody's going to tell me that my instructor, who said that I am good enough to be this, was wrong.
Exactly.
Like I said, so
especially if your instructor's like a friggin' 10-time master world champion.
I don't care if he's not. I don't care. It's the person that you entrusted with your promotions. It's the person that you entrusted with your jiu-jitsu.
Now,
it doesn't matter who they are. If that's who you believe in and that's who you go with, then be willing to stand strong behind that and call it a day. Because, like I said, that goes back to, if it were anything else, that would be like saying, well, there's black belts and then there's black belts.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like if your instructor said that you are this thing and you have faith in your instructor, that's all there is to it.
I can monkey wrench this whole conversation real quick. Okay, so stay there. Watch. I'm going to show you something.
Yep, go ahead.
Watch. This is my white belt. I got all my belts there. So let's do it there, blah, blah, blah. What is funny about this white belt?
Oh, yeah. It's tons.
But you know what's awesome, though? I used to wear this belt. I'd go to the schools like, yo, dude, why does your belt have so many? What is that? We're just like, I think at the time, Gus was just he held very, very strict standards. And he was like he didn't really want to belt you right away. Right. He wanted to make sure. But, at the end of the day, when I got my blue, maybe you could say, well, I was a blue right here. Right? After that, I was a blue. But still, what I mean?
Me personally,
I was a good blue belt, though. When I got my blue, I was good.
I wouldn't say you were a blue belt there. I'd say you were a white belt.
I was a white belt.
With 6 stripes or 20 stripes or however many stripes you have. You're a blue belt when you
got your blue belt. Yeah. I guess that's true.
Again, you decided that you entrusted yourself to him. If that's what he was doing, that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
And I have actually what's cool about that? I have a story I can tell. How many other people I have? I mean, it's took me a long time to get my blue.
Yep, absolutely.
Right.
So yeah, I don't knock it, man. It's his school. It's how he sees fit to do it.
Well, and
I'm cool with it.
it actually, what was cool about it too is it shaved some of my blue belt time off too. You know what I mean?
That's fine,
So
too.
he looked at that and it's like, okay, well, he put a little extra time in the white, so the blue belt time got shaved down a little bit. So I went to purple a little bit.
Also,
It didn't hold me. It didn't hold me back.
Slow you
Yeah,
down,
it didn't mess
really.
me up. At the end of the
That's what I'm saying.
day, I still put my
it all shook out in the wash.
10, 11 years in to get my black belt, whatever it was. Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, all right, that's fine, dude.
Yeah.
However you do it, you do it.
Actually, I kind of like that.
And then you have to be comfortable with it. You should be. You should hopefully be comfortable with your promotional status. And if you go to another school and you want to train at that school and they tell you to take your black belt off and you wear our interim black belt, or you wear our watered down black belt until we think you're good enough, if you accept that, then cool, accept it. Just, you're an adult. You made a decision. Deal with it. I, as an adult, would not make that decision. It's not going to happen. I mean, it's not going to happen. You're not going to take my black belt and say, oh, well, we'll tell you when you're ready. Fuck out of here.
You're basically saying that every school I go to, I need to retest for my belt.
That's dog shit. But that's just my opinion. And again, but maybe that school has set standards for their black belts and they just don't want anyone who doesn't fit that freaking mold.
I understand that. It makes sense. And the school it's a well-respected school. And I agree with like 99% of this guy. Like he's really good, but I just kind of disagree on that one point. Yeah. But it's still a legit school in a way. So I'm not like dissing him or anything.
I don't even know what school it is. I'm guessing it's probably not a Kron Gracie school. So let's say freaking Hickson gave Kron his freaking black belt, but then Kron decided for whatever reason he was going to go train over here, and he has to take his freaking black belt off. Like this world-renowned champion needs to take his black belt off and prove himself to.
That's where it gets subjective.
Exactly.
Because then certain people wouldn't have to do it.
Exactly.
So if you're going to hold that standard, you got to hold it for everybody. But that never happens.
That would never happen.
It'll never happen. Yeah.
So, like I said, it's all dog shit.
So what's the moral of the story? Moral of the story is this. Okay, if you're waiting for a belt promotion, never, ever, ever ask your coach. Now, you can ask your coach for constructive. I would ask Gus. I'd say, hey, Gus, what do I need to do to get to the next level?
Yes, constructive criticism is smart.
I would do that.
But you better frame it that way.
You got to frame it correctly, yeah. I've seen people talk their way into belt promotions. I'm going to leave that alone.
Yeah,
but
I've seen it.
I've seen it too. Actually, that happens a lot, actually.
It happens a lot.
It does happen.
Because, hey.
But, at the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get a belt off my personality or my persuasion. I want to get a belt because I deserved it. I earned it. And if it means I got to wait longer, I wait longer. And here's the funny thing, too. At the end of the day, it's just time that goes by. It doesn't matter, bro. Like, I don't care if I said, it took me 15 years to get my black. You still get it, and you're there. Unless you're chasing the clock. If you're like start when you're 60, then I would say you have a sense of urgency, right?
A little bit harder,
but if you're hearing this and you're 20 years old or even 30, I'd say even 40, 40 and younger, just don't even sweat it. You'll get your bill. You'll get it when you get it.
And honestly, most of us, God willing, if you stay alive long enough, you're going to be a black belt longer than you've been every other belt combined.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? So it's like, look, you're going to get your black belt and then say,
now
took me 10 years to get it. Oh, how long have you been a black belt? I've been a black belt for 20 years. Like, so it took you 10 years and you've been one for 20. So you've been training for 30 years and 20 of those you've been a black belt. It's like, think about that.
It's crazy.
It's like, hell, my instructors already, they've been black belts longer than they've ever trained.
I know. And you know what, man? Like, if you guys watching, if you're lower belts, you need to enjoy that. That's the time when you have fun. Like, those are some of the most fun belts. If you think about it, I think purple belt is a fun belt.
Oh, yeah.
Purple belt, like, it's fun because you have good skills, you have good technique, you're dangerous, you can tap people out. But you can make mistakes. Hey, I'm just a purple belt, man. Sorry. Or you can maul somebody. Oops. Right?
Definitely.
You could get beat up. Well, I'm a purple belt.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Look, so you
it's
win or
a
you
fun
learn.
belt.
And I thought that was one of the greatest things I heard from Infinite Jiu-Jitsu. Like, they were like, you win or you learn. I'm not saying he made it up. Good. I mean, I'm sure it's been out there forever. But first time I heard it was, you win or you learn, and it was over at freaking Infinite Jiu-Jitsu. And I think that's a great saying. It's a great way to look at things. It's like, you'll be all right. Yeah. It's just go in there, go train. It's like, shut up and train.
Yep.
Nobody really wants to hear your fucking problem. You know what I mean? Just get on the side. Yeah.
This is the most anti-woke place ever. Go to jiu-jitsu.
Get in there and train. It's like,
Just shut up and train. Keep
That's
going.
it, man.
Trust your professor. He's been doing it longer than you have. You don't have any in special insight or some like introspective knowledge that he doesn't have.
Yeah.
Just go with it, and then you'll get your belt. You don't even have to overthink it. Just keep training.
No, yeah.
Keep training.
Like a
Keep
lot of
training.
stuff, you can just turn your brain off, man.
Turn your brain off. It's almost like lifting weights, right?
Exactly.
If you lift weights and every day you keep looking, oh, my biceps like
Right.
a
You're
centimeter
not gonna
bigger.
make it grow with
Yeah,
your
no,
mind,
dude. A
man.
year later, like, oh man, I'm getting a little jacked, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Right, that's how it is.
Right. Or what's really going to happen is somebody will see you who hasn't seen you
Oh
in a
yeah,
long
you look
time.
good. You
They're
look
like, damn, what's
Yeah.
happening? Well, that's how it's going to be with your jiu-jitsu. You'll
Exactly.
roll with some joker who's been going for like 6 months, and then you dominate, and you're like, shit, I guess I am getting better.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's it. All right. So on that note, I guess we close it out, huh?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
keep training, everybody, right?
Keep training.
If you liked the video, if you got some value out of it, if you got entertainment, or if you learned anything, or if you thought it was cool, hit the like button. That would be awesome. If it's really, really cool and you really, really like it, hit the subscribe. That really just helps the YouTube algorithm to kind of move this around. Share it with your friends. We just want to keep it going and get some of this jiu-jitsu, knowledge spread out there. Shaver, anything else?
No, they say, it's another one I got from Johnny. It's like, if it's important to you, you'll make a way. If it's not, you'll make an excuse.
That's going to be our closing statement. I like that.
There you go.
All right, you guys. Thanks, everybody. Peace.
Take it easy.
See you guys.